Hello, and welcome to the Science Lounge, where each week we discuss influential leaders within the science world. This week we'll discuss Charles Darwin and evolution. Before we get to Darwin, there was this French scientist, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, who came close to discovering evolution. Now, Lamarck had some pretty great ideas. First, he used fossils for collecting data. Second, he linked extinct species to species that were already existent, and he suggested changes in species were due to changes in the environment. Now, although he had some really great ideas, he unfortunately had really bad ideas. For one, he thought if you use a body part more frequently than others, then that body part would in turn grow larger and stronger. For example, if you use your feet a lot, your feet will grow large and strong. And correlating to that, if you use a body part less frequently, say your pinky toe, then that body part would disappear. These kind of ideas, not so good. And also, he had an idea that if a parent changed their physical characteristic and had an offspring, that offspring would have the same change of physical appearance. For example, if your dad got a tattoo on his back, then the same tattoo will appear on his child or offspring. These ideas unfortunately proved very wrong. And so we come to 1809, where the future father of evolution was born, Charles Darwin. Now, Darwin was born into a pretty good life. His father was a surgeon, which prompted Darwin to go into medical school. Unfortunately, Darwin was more of a naturalist. He enjoyed the outdoors, and he quit medical school. However, he did in 1831 receive a bachelor's degree and embarked on a journey to HMS Beagle, where he traveled along the South American coastline. His job on HMS Beagle was to collect specimens for studies. He also found the differences between species correlating to different countries and places, locations. For example, a temperate species in South America was more related to a tropical species in South America than to a temperate species in Europe. Also, while in the Galapagos Islands, Darwin found that some species were only inhabited on one single island, and all the species were related to mainland species. One of the most famous species that Darwin studied was the finches, these small birds that inhabit each different island. Now, he looked at the sizes of the beaks and noticed that depending on the location of the finch, the beaks would be different. Now, after his 5-year journey on the HMS Beagle, Darwin returned home to relax and to collect all his data together. He got married, had some children, also theorized evolution. He says that two populations of a species that isolate in different environments adapt to those local conditions will eventually become two separate species. But 10 years later, Darwin receives a letter from Alfred Wallace. Wallace came up with the same exact theory Darwin theorized 10 years ago. So Wallace and Darwin presented their theory to scientific board in Britain. However, for Wallace, he was less fortunate because Darwin knew the right types of people, and Darwin therefore was credited with this theory of evolution. A year later, Darwin published his book on evolution, The Origins of Species. The book had two main ideas. One, gradual modification from generation to generation explains the diversity. Two, natural selection is the fight between organisms and their environment. Gradualism, as Darwin believed, explained that life did not evolve instantaneously. Instead, it was a gradual, slow movement that resulted in a total evolution. Also, natural selection, survival is not at random, and the organism best suited for the environment will produce the most offspring. For example, if you are a yellow bug and living in a brown environment, you will be hunted more by predators. However, If you were a brown bug, you would be able to blend in more within your surroundings, be hunted less by predators, and be able to produce more offsprings. Now, I will conclude this discussion with a quote from Charles Darwin himself. "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change." I like that quote. Very good one. And join us next time as we look in the world of Stephen Hawking, madman or scientific god. Thank you and have a good evening.